Taeha entered the restaurant with his friends, one of the girls in the group thanking him for bringing them there. Jesus stood speechless, trying to process what was happening. Another girl approached her and said, "We're a group of 4, so we need a table." Jesus apologized and showed them to their seats. As she resumed her duties, she couldn't shake off her friend's words from a few days ago. She recalled the day Taeha had given her a sandwich and coffee, and how her friend had remarked, "It seems he likes you. He's clearly interested. Buying a bouquet from you every day. He's just trying to impress you." Jesus' thoughts drifted into an internal monologue. "I'm not interested in him. I haven't even thought about it. I've never wanted this kind of attention. Yet, I feel embarrassed that he overheard our conversation. For some reason, I find it hard to look him in the eye." While working, Jesus overheard the conversation at Taeha's table. The girl next to him asked if he was going to eat, but he replied that he had already had plenty. Jesus continued her internal dialogue. Is she his girlfriend? They look great together. The bouquet was probably for her. Working with younger people, I never really understood what they were talking about. Pull yourself together, na Jesus. The girl next to Taeha, named Hiji, noticed his distracted gaze. Who are you looking at? You've been staring over there for quite some time, she asked. Before Taeha could respond, one of his friends interrupted, teasing Hiji. Hiji, you know that's just a habit, right? Taeha only has a slight interest in you. That's why he only hooks up with you. Whether he's looking around or headbanging, mind your business and just eat. Why do you keep staring at that person's face? Hiji snapped back at him, cursing, and a fight almost broke out. Taeha subtly kicked his friend Dongwook under the table, signaling him to calm down by saying he was burning the meat. Dongwook understood and stayed quiet. Hiji turned to Taeha again, asking, "Why do you keep staring at that lady? Do you know her?" With a smile, but with a coldness in his eyes, he replied, "Isn't it obvious?" "Yes, we know each other." Hiji became upset, thinking to herself, "What the hell? I had a feeling. But do you really know her?" Later, at Haisu's house, she was sorting through clothes when she discovered one of them was torn. She thought, he's going to be pissed. It hasn't been that long since I bought this. It's a shame to throw it away. I should stitch it up. Minchel, lying on the bed, turned to her and asked, "What are you doing instead of resting?" She replied that she was sewing. He questioned her, "Why are you sewing?" Minchel got up, took the clothes from her hands, inspected them, and remarked coldly, "Are you seriously asking me to buy clothes for you right now? If that's the case, forget about it." Jesus defended herself, saying, "Why would I throw it away? It's still wearable." Unimpressed, Minchel retorted, "Jesus, men don't like pitiful women like you. I don't like worn-out underwear, and I hate stretched underwear even more. It makes me feel like an old woman." Jesus was left speechless, suddenly remembering Taeha. Her internal monologue returned. "This all reminds me of you. I don't know what we talked about, but the whole conversation was a misunderstanding. Why do I keep remembering embarrassing and shameful memories, despite trying so hard to forget them?" She took the clothes back, and Minchel continued, "Whatever I say will always end up being depressing." He moved closer, hugged her, and added, "Anyway, Nehesu, you have no charm, no mood, and you're clueless about men. Despite all that, I still live with you. After all, I'm the only one, right?" Feeling hopeless and miserable, Jesus believed everything Minchel said, which only deepened her self-loathing. She thought to herself, "In winter, a chilling cold pierces through the walls of our semi-basement apartment, stinging our skin. Trapped in this narrow, run-down house, our lives are sadly ordinary, yet unfortunate. I might hate living like this, but I can endure it all because of you." The night passed, and morning came. While making breakfast, Jesus heard a weather announcement that there was a chance of rain in the afternoon, expected to continue until late at night. She planned, "It will probably rain until the evening. I should take an umbrella with me." She noticed they only had 2 umbrellas, and thought, which one is still intact? This one looks fine. It still works. It's not completely broken. I'll use it a little more, then throw it away. I'll let Minchel use the other one. At Minchel's workplace, he was making a cup of coffee when Ari entered. Looking for a new pack of coffee, he told her where to find it. Suddenly, Ari screamed and clung to Minchel's arm, frightened by a bug. He chuckled, saying, "I thought I did something wrong. Are you scared of bugs? She admitted, I'm really extremely scared of bugs. Minchell found her reaction cute and offered to capture the bug for her. She pointed to where it was, still holding his arm, but the bug had disappeared. She insisted it was there, and Minchell, lost in thought, had an internal monologue. Haisu has never been afraid of bugs. Seeing someone act like this is quite refreshing. This makes coming to work worthwhile. Back at the flower shop, Haisu's colleague was exhausted and wondered, Where is the rose guy? She said aloud. It's somewhat comforting to see his handsome face at least once during this tough part-time job and life. Her wish came true as the rose guy, Teha, entered the store. Feeling awkward, Haisu told her colleague, I'll be out back, tending to the flowers. You should take the order. Her colleague was shocked and confused, but eventually approached Teha to take his order. He requested his usual, but his eyes followed Haisu as she retreated. After work, it started raining as expected. As Haisu tried to open her umbrella, she thought to herself, Fortunately, I didn't run into him today, but I can't keep avoiding him like this forever. Let's not do that from tomorrow onwards. Embarrassing moments will quickly fade after a few days. They said there would be heavy rain, and it's really pouring. I hope Minchell remembered to take his umbrella. When Haisu opened her umbrella, she found it completely broken. She was shocked and thought, It seemed fine this morning, but now it's completely broken. The convenience store isn't too far, but it's not close enough to run through this rain. Since the forecast said it would rain until late at night, I can't just wait here indefinitely. Poverty quietly devours people. A cheap umbrella. If only I hadn't procrastinated and bought a new one in advance, I wouldn't be in this situation. What should I do? Minchell will probably hate it if I call him. He's seemed tired lately, adjusting to the new job. I'll wait it out a little longer. Suddenly, an umbrella appeared over her. Haisu turned to see who it was, and it was Teha. He asked, Where do you live? Trying to avoid eye contact, she replied, No, I'll be fine. My place is a bit far from here. You can go ahead first. He got closer, holding the umbrella over both of them, and said, It's supposed to rain until dawn. Let's just share an umbrella. Haisu was speechless and didn't know how to react. She thought to herself, It's as if the sky is mocking me for making such a presumptuous mistake. This whole situation has made it quite impossible to avoid this man. In the end, she shared the umbrella with him and thanked him. As they walked, Haisu reflected internally. On the way home, contrary to my expectations, this man did not utter a single word. Thanks to the sound of the heavy rain, being together under a one-person umbrella wasn't as awkward as I thought. The rain fell heavily, and he walked at a pace unusually slow for a man of his uncommon height. Minchell is also tall, but whenever we walked together, I always lagged behind him. Perhaps it became a habit because, for once, someone was being considerate. Avoiding eye contact, Haisu asked, Your girlfriend won't like this. What if she finds out you shared an umbrella with a stranger? Teha looked at her with a smile and said, Who said I have a girlfriend? Haisu replied, Huh? Don't you have one? The girl I saw with you at the BBQ restaurant? Teha answered, She's not my girlfriend. She's just a friend. Haisu looked puzzled, and he reassured her. It's true, please believe me. She nodded and replied that she believed him, but thought to herself, After responding like that, those words sound strange. Feeling awkward, Haisu continued thinking to herself, There's no way anyone would do something like this for a complete stranger. Her thoughts were interrupted when a car approached quickly, about to run them over. In a split second, Teha intervened, grabbing her and swiftly moving her to the other side of the road. He shielded her from the water sprayed up by the speeding car, ensuring she stayed dry and safe. Shocked, Haisu didn't expect that to happen. Teha said, I'm sorry, the car came way too fast. I was worried you'd get hurt. Still panicked, Haisu replied that it was fine, thinking, That was scary. What kind of driving was that? He interrupted her thoughts, saying, I'm big, right? She puzzled. What? And he explained, I covered you from getting splashed. Haisu understood and shyly replied, Yes. They continued on their way home, but Haisu couldn't hold back her thoughts, thinking, There's no way anyone would do something like this for a complete stranger. Now that I see it, the other side of his coat is completely soaked, whereas my clothes aren't wet at all. Should I even ask if you're interested in me? If that's the case, I should draw the line now. Heisu asked him, "Why are you so kind to me?" With a soft smile and gentle tone, he replied, "You found me out. I have my motives. I just want to get to know you." Heisu responded, "No thanks." He asked, "Why not?" She answered, "You're young and seem popular among women. Why are you trying to date an older woman you don't know?" He replied, "If I'm young and popular among women, why can't I get along with an older woman?" She firmly said, "You can't, so stop." Soon enough, they arrived at Haisu's house. She thanked him for his kindness. Beom-tae-ha asked, "So will we still continue being strangers?" She replied, "Yes." And he agreed without complaining, leaving Heisu with her thoughts. "I thought you would be a bit more stubborn." The man changed his mind more easily than I expected. The view of his back after giving a strangely obedient response was somehow long and solid, poignant. "How did you end up becoming interested in someone like me?" "Maybe it's because you're still young. Sometimes it's just out of curiosity." When Haisu got inside the house, she noticed that Minchul didn't take the umbrella. She remembered the words of the man at the restaurant who said, "When it comes to men, it's all up to women. If his wife is wise and kind, then the man has to earn the money and make sacrifices for the family, right?" Heisu decided to pick him up from his company, thinking he would probably appreciate it. When she arrived, she tried to contact him, saying to herself, "It seems like our paths diverged. You didn't even see the text I sent about picking you up because your battery has died. I shouldn't have come all this way without confirming or making any plans with you. I'll head back home now." Just then, she saw Minchul coming out of the company with Ari, sharing an umbrella, and Ari holding Minchul's arm tightly as if they were a couple. Heisu was shocked and speechless. Minchul was equally surprised to see her. Ari pouted at Haisu and asked who she was. Minchul said that Heisu was just a close friend, similar to a relative, and that she came to pick him up since it was raining heavily. Ari apologized for her misunderstanding. Powerless and hopeless, Heisu didn't know how to react. Minchul left Ari and joined Heisu under the umbrella. Once Ari was gone, Minchul started complaining. "Why did you come all the way to pick me up without asking? It's unlike you to do nice things. Why now all of a sudden? What are you doing, Heisu? Aren't we leaving?" In a hopeless and sad tone, Heisu asked, "Who is she, that person just now?" Minchul answered carelessly, "Ari. She's someone I know. We work at the same company." "What's with that expression?" "She's just a co-worker. Do you think everything boils down to attraction between men and women?" Heisu tried to explain herself, but Minchul interrupted. "Calm down, just chill a bit. I don't know if it's because you don't have friends or people to contact, but originally in our society, you could not be close with the opposite gender. Now we have colleagues, friends, or something similar. Now, Heisu, please, don't be so embarrassing." Heisu kept silent as they walked home. She remembered Beom-tae-ha and what he had said. "I would like to get to know you," she thought. Suddenly, lingering in my ears, was the low voice that rang inside the umbrella. Now I see. The opportunity I threw away like it was nothing special. The next morning, Heisu was at her workplace, the flower shop. Both Heisu and her colleague were exhausted from the many orders that day. The girl said, "I feel like my body will collapse." Heisu replied, "If you're tired, rest. I'll organize the rest." The girl thanked Heisu, hoping they wouldn't get any customers until they were off work, wishing to see Beom-tae-ha, as his face gave her strength. But before the girl could rest, a customer entered the store. It was Beom-tae-ha. The girl was hopeful to see him, but thought she should go since he usually ordered from Heisu. When Heisu tried to ask for his order, he passed her as if she wasn't there, leaving a look of surprise on her face. 2 weeks had passed, and Heisu found herself in the flower shop as usual. She mused internally. 2 weeks have gone by. Minchul often comes home late or works on weekends because he's busy. Other than that, everything feels the same. After the day I told him we could never be acquaintances, he quickly disappeared from my life. She remembered Beom-tae-ha's words, "I will listen to you," and continued thinking. With those words, which were suspiciously obedient, he moved completely out of my radius. It seemed his interest in me was nothing more than fleeting curiosity. I thought it was fortunate it wasn't a deeper feeling. The wounds left by deep emotions leave scars that can't be erased. While Haisu was serving at the restaurant, she thought about messaging Minchul to ask if he would be late. The previous night, She had fallen asleep without seeing him come in, and she hadn't heard from him yet. She wondered if he had gotten to work safely. But her thoughts were interrupted by a customer asking her to bring servings of pork belly to their table. She assured him she would and began serving. The same customer, sitting with his employees, started a conversation with one of them, who asked, "How do you feel after coming here? Are you feeling better after your divorce?" The man responded happily, "Oh, I'm glad I don't have to listen to that annoying woman's nagging anymore." He then put his hand on the shoulder of the female employee next to him, making her uncomfortable. He continued, "I don't feel awkward sitting next to a young female employee at a company dinner like this." As they continued their meal, another employee encouraged him to enjoy his second youth and suggested he meet some women. The man replied, "Is that so? Well, it's not good for a man to be alone for too long." He looked at Hae-soo and thought, wouldn't it be great to start a new life with a woman who's naturally pretty, even without makeup? I've watched her during company dinners at this restaurant. She seems like a hard-working woman who doesn't know luxury. I think we're only about 10 years apart in age. Since I'm a regular customer, she probably knows I'm a boss and will be thrilled when I hit on her. Eventually, the man got drunk and lifted his cup, expecting someone to pour him a drink. When one of his employees offered to pour it, he refused and insisted Hae-soo do it. The girl who worked with Hae-soo ran to the restaurant boss, telling him that a customer was scolding Hae-soo because she refused his request. The man kept yelling, "Do you know who I am? I'm the future president of a store selling tech every day." The restaurant owner intervened, trying to calm the man down and apologizing on behalf of Hae-soo. But the man refused the apology and demanded that Hae-soo kneel and apologize. Hae-soo was speechless, not expecting the situation to escalate this way. The man thought to himself, "You're just a serving girl in a place like this, and you have the nerve to respond to me like this? I need to break your spirit." The restaurant owner became angry at the customer's demand and told him that he shouldn't treat his employees that way. The customer yelled that if Hae-soo didn't kneel, he would stop doing business with the restaurant. Hae-soo, surprising everyone, knelt and apologized, saying, "I deeply apologize. I was wrong. Please forgive me." The boss tried to make her stand, but she insisted, "It is my fault the customer is upset. I apologize again. Please visit our store often in the future." After work, Hae-soo and her boss were the last two left in the restaurant. Her boss took her aside and said, "I heard what happened. That guy was really out of line. You didn't have to go that far." Hae-soo replied, "No. These days, there aren't many customers. Losing a big company like that would be a huge blow. I know how considerate you've been to me, so I can't cause trouble." Her boss, feeling sorry for her, said, "It's a tough world with many bad people, but there are good ones too." Hae-soo reassured him she was okay, reflecting to herself, "It wasn't an empty remark. I was really okay. I've been working all sorts of jobs since I was young, and I've been through a lot. There were many nights when I couldn't sleep because of sadness. The heart that was hurt has hardened and become accustomed to wounds." Their conversation ended, and they closed the restaurant. Her boss asked if she was going home alone and offered her a ride, but she declined, saying she had a part-time job at a convenience store. Her boss was shocked and wondered when she rested, but she explained it was only on weekends. He sighed and hesitantly asked if she had a lot of debt. Hae-soo slipped into a flashback of masked men barging into her apartment, destroying everything. Her ex-husband, Min-cheol, had borrowed money under her name, trapping them in a nightmare. He had promised her, "If you pay this debt, we'll remarry and live happily ever after." She snapped back to the present, answered her boss with a simple, "Yes," and they parted ways. While walking to her part-time job, she thought, "Even when the wind knocks on the old door, I wonder if it's a debt collector, but I still dream of the future." Meanwhile, the customer who had yelled at her felt good about himself until Beom-tae-ha, who was in an alley, dressed all in black, started walking behind him and then kicked the customer to the ground. Beom-tae-ha pulled his hair and asked menacingly, "Who is the person who wanted to die? Do you know?" The man, in pain, started yelling and cursing at Beom-tae-ha. Beom-tae-ha told the customer to hit him. When the customer did, Beom-tae-ha barely flinched, wiped the blood away, and asked, "Do you know who I am?" The man, trembling, replied, "What the hell are you saying? How would I know who you are?" In a rough tone, Beom-tae-ha said, "You don't know? This is your chance to find out." Teha then began beating the customer. Meanwhile, at the convenience store, Jesus was organizing the products and cleaning. She was tired, but found it easier to work in peace without company. When the store was empty, she decided to rest, but someone entered. To her surprise, it was Teha. Jesus wondered, "Do we live in the same neighborhood? We've run into each other at the flower shop, the restaurant, and now the convenience store. Since I'm the only one working, there's no one to take his order for me. Whatever. We're supposed to be strangers. Just treat him like any other customer." She tried to avoid eye contact, but when he placed his order for a Band-Aid, she looked up and saw he had been punched in the face.